Hello, and welcome to another one of my videos. Um, I apologize for it taking so long for me to make another video, but it's been quite busy around here. The shrine is growing and moving in good positive directions. Um, our baby, our son, is due very soon, so that's an exciting time. I've got as some people say, my dirty little fingers in everybody's pie. I am working on several different projects through my tradition and everything. Those of you who know me already know who I am. First of all, let me apologize for the lighting here. It's evening. I'm sitting in a room where the light to the room is behind me, so it would cast a terrible glare on the camera. So I've got a side light here. No professional equipment here at all. My name is Reverend Chuck Chapman. I go by the name of Reverend Onyx. I am a member of the High Priesthood of the Karelia Nativist tradition of Wicca. I am the chief priest and shrine keeper of Lady of the Circle in the Oaks, which is the only pagan public, or I should say the only public pagan organization here in Davidson County of North Carolina. We've been around for a few years now, and a little background, because I'm linking this video into the responses for another video. So for those of you who know me and this is kind of old hat for you, then I apologize. But I'd like to introduce myself and give you a little bit of background on who I am. For those of you who do not know me, I've been involved in the pagan slash Wiccan religion, faith group, whatever you want to call it, for the better part of 30 years. And the first few years that I was involved in a tradition. And for those of you who are not uh, do not know, you can pretty much read tradition as denomination. I was involved in a tradition where we kept things quiet. We were very exclusive. As time went along, I came to the point where I no longer wanted to keep secret who I was and what I believed. So I started coming out of what we call the broom closet. Spent I spent 12 years in the military in the United States Army. The last several of those years, I was open about my faith. Um, After that, um, my wife at the time and I started another temple outside of in our hometown. That lasted for several years, and in fact, I believe it's still there, although she and I are no longer together. I've established covens, temples, study groups throughout mostly the southeast of the United States. In the about 2007-ish, I'm thinking 2007, 2008. I had to look at my own profile to find out, but I came to the Corellian. I found the Corellian tradition, and I like their mission statement. I like what they were doing. I like that they were bringing the craft to the general public and making it available in an open source type way. And I felt very strongly about that. Prior to that, let me back up. Prior to that, I owned the first um, metaphysical shop in a very conservative southern city for a while. In fact, that store happened to be right across the street from the county courthouse. Um, on a couple of occasions, it was a little interesting, but for the most part, it was nice. It was okay. But right back up to now, I became a student of the Corellian tradition at that time, living through all three degrees. I am currently, as I said before, I am currently a membership of the High Priesthood. I am a prospective member of the Witton Council, which is a council of advisors that works for our chancellor and our archpriesthood. Um, I was recently called, or actually texted. I was actually contacted by a member of our organization here about the video that I'm replying to or responding to. And even though it had been uploaded about 2 years ago, and obviously the video was a little bit dated, I thought it might be interesting for me to discuss what was in this video. Um, the two main players. Well, actually, we're talking about the primary focus.tv video that this thing is linked to. I'll also give you a link at the end of this video for those of you who haven't seen it, so that you can see what I'm talking about, and you can see you can make your own judgment. Now, the two main players in this are in this video are Kathy Sharp and Carol Matriciana. Now, Carol Matriciana, Miss Matriciana, is portrayed as an expert on the occult, having, I believe she said, like a decade, maybe even 2 decades of experience in researching the occult. And that's what she's portrayed as. What we need to understand, though, is that Carol Matriciana is very biased. Um, I would I would ask those of you who, and I'm not going to go down the ad hominem um, argument here. All I would ask is consider bias, and when considering the premises that are actually put forward. Uh, I will list her name at the end of the video because it's spelled a little differently than normal. In fact, if you watch the video, her name is not titled or typed on the screen until about 18 to 19 minutes into the video. The other person is Kathy Sharp. There again, Kathy Sharp is extremely biased in what she has to say. Kathy Sharp claims or says, and I have no reason to doubt her story because there's no, there's I haven't dug for it, but there's no evidence to say that she's lying. So I'm not going to propose that. In the fact that she says that she was a practicing Wiccan for 10 years, and obviously now looking at her website um, and some of the other work, obviously she's converted to Christianity, and for that, if she's happy, then blessed be. Um, what I would like to say though is what they have attempted to do or what they have done in this video is a very dangerous thing. What they have done, as far as argument is concerned, I'm not talking about as dangerous to somebody or anyone, but what they've done is a very dangerous thing in an argument. Um, and when I say argument, I'm not talking about a yelling match. I'm talking about an actual philosophical argument. They mix fact with assumptions and sometimes complete misrepresentation. I would hope that their misrepresentations are born out of ignorance and not out of maliciousness. I would certainly hope that anyone who claims to be spiritual, of any spirituality or any religion, would not stoop to the level of um, maliciously cooking up premises in an argument to attack someone else. I would certainly hope that. And if they are, then I I understand that from my point of view, from my religious and my philosophical point of view, that everything will come back. Um, on the lowest level, we can talk about, every dog has its day, turnabout, what you send out comes back, the law of three, we call it, um, karma, karmic retribution, all this. But the way I look at it is every choice that you make to affect someone else, either positively or negatively, you will eventually be on the receiving end. So if you reach out to help someone in a time of need, then at some point you will be the recipient of that help in your time of need. Um, but if you attack somebody maliciously, then the same thing applies. At some point, you're going to be the recipient of that type of a malicious attack of that nature. So, you know, that's their choice. If they have chosen to maliciously invent things, um, statements, then that's fine. But several problems I have with the way they present things. First of all, it really irritates me when people talk about Harry Potter and they confuse it with Wicca. Anybody who has seen or has seen any of the movies or read any of the books realizes or should realize if they can comprehend what they're reading that the witches and wizards in that book and the magic in that storyline is not religiously focused in and of the least. Um, it has to deal with manipulation of forces, etc., through incantation, um, wand waving, things like this. Uh, the only connection, I can only see two connections between Harry Potter and Wicca. The fact that Harry Potter believes in magic, and so do we as Wiccans, and the fact that the female practitioner of this magic, or that uses this magic, is called a witch. Now, term of clarification there, a little bit of clarification there, male practitioners of Wicca are also called witches. But having watched Harry Potter, and actually I was working for as a customer service manager for a bookstore when a lot of this was going on. So I was there. I seen people coming in. I seen the craze and everything. And actually, as far as the bottom line of the bookstore goes, it was quite nice. Now, the another problem we have is that at one point in the video, or several points in the video, they kind of allude to the fact, and I believe at one point they even say um, that Wiccans don't believe in God. Um, as a general rule, and I can only speak for myself and from my experience, that is absolutely not true. We do believe in God, or let me put it like this: I believe in God, and I am a high priest with almost 30 years experience in Wicca. Um, do I believe in God in the Christian sense, the way God is portrayed in the Bible? Yes, but I believe, and that's a tricky way to answer that, but sort of. I believe that first of all, I believe that God is beyond anything that we can know. In our tradition, we call that universal deity. It is that universal deity is beyond anything that we can possibly comprehend, at least at this realm, in this state of being. Now, we seek to understand as humans. We have a need to understand. We put everything in a cubbyhole. That's part of what we do. That's the way our psyche works. That's the way we work psychologically. Um, we believe, or at least I should say, this tradition will tell you, will say that each of the gods throughout history, be they Apollo, Athena, Cernunnos, Pan, Yahweh, Allah, any of them, are nothing more, and I use that phrase very carefully, listen carefully to what I have to say before you cry wolf here, are nothing more than our human attempt to understand something that we cannot understand. Each of those, we use the analogy, some of us use the analogy of a diamond, universal deity being the whole of that diamond, and each of the gods and goddesses throughout history being a facet of that diamond. It, while the facet in and of itself is beautiful, and we can focus absolutely on that facet, it is only a portion of the entire gem. Now, So yes, we do believe in God. The term panentheism was mentioned, and actually I believe it was mentioned by a practitioner. I don't believe it was mentioned by either Carol or Kathy. I may be wrong. You can look through the video to be sure. But yes, my belief is panentheist. I believe in both the internal presence of God and the external presence of God. I believe that the Creator, the universal divine, the universal deity, the prime mover, whatever you want to call that, um, is just as much within each part of creation as outside of that material creation. There is nothing that exists that is not a part of God. Nothing. I believe, just as the Christians will tell you in their faith, their facet of the ultimate divine, the universal deity, Yahweh, or whatever you want to call him, whatever the denomination calls him at that point, because there's different names during different different denominations. They'll tell you that God is a loving, caring, nurturing, all good God. I believe that too. I believe the universal creator, I believe the universal deity is all good, omnipresent, and in other words, I mean everywhere. There is nowhere that God is not. In fact, I believe the Christians will tell you that God is everywhere as well. But then they shun the idea that God is within us. We accept that, yes, the universal deity is omnipresent, is everywhere, but everywhere includes inside of ourselves. So if we look at it from an analogous point of view, I believe Kathy brought up in the video that kind of made a mention of, if God is everywhere and we're a part of God, then it might have been Kathy, it might have been one of the other people, then we are in essence gods and goddesses, our co-creators ourselves. Well, in the very basic logical sense, absolutely. Um, the the premise was brought up that Wiccans are very egocentric, are very egotistical. Um, I've met very, very few of them that are egotistical, and I've met quite a lot. And even those who have many books out, are considered scholars among us, are very down to earth. And I believe that if people will get to know them and give them a chance, they'll realize that. Another thing that I'd like to bring up is that they say that the draw to Wicca is the draw to power and the spellcraft. I would like to state that the way I practice the craft and the way that almost everybody that I know, or actually everybody that I know, practice the craft, will tell you, maybe not in these exact words, but will give you the same idea that Wicca is a religion that embraces magic, not a religion, but they won't say that Wicca is a religion of magic. Um, it's not about the spellcraft. Spellcraft is acknowledged. Spellcraft is used, and I know some Wiccans who don't practice spellcraft. So if I know at least one person that does not, one Wiccan that does not use spellcraft, then that would establish the absolute fact that spellcraft is not required to be considered Wiccan. Because if it was required, then everybody would have to. Um, the darkness that they speak of, the allure to the darkness, well, you know, darkness is everywhere. But darkness does not necessarily mean evil. Evil. It does not necessarily mean evil. Carl Jung talks about the shadow self, and I won't go into a philosophical argument here, but a lot of us understand that there is a shadow, there is a darkness within us, within each of us, every one of us, every single one of us. There is a darkness within us that we don't want to admit to. There is a part of us that we hide even from ourselves. One of the things that we do, or at least I do, and that I try to teach those who work closely with me in the shrine how to do and lead them and assist them in doing, is to look within themselves and see this darkness, see this shadow, and come to terms with it. Understand that that is a part of you, a part of them, just as much as the light, beautiful parts of them. Um, to the point where there's a mention of working positive craft or working positive spells to help yourself puts down other people. I would remind you that you can light a candle, and from that flame you can light another candle, and from that candle you can light another candle, and those candles can burn, and it never diminishes the candle from the first. You don't have to um, you don't have to put somebody down to make yourself feel better. Anybody with any basic grounding in the understanding of human psychology will tell you that. And I'm not talking about a grounding as far as a degree or anything. Anybody with common sense, in my opinion, can tell you that there is no need to put somebody else down in order to make yourself feel better. You can do that for yourself. You can feed the flame within yourself and make yourself feel better. Now, to the point where we don't want to be used, nobody does. Absolutely nobody does. Um, and it is common. It is a common thought that if a person believes themselves to be a welcome mat and they act like a welcome mat, that they will sometimes be treated that way, and they're drawn into those type of situations. Um, Wicca is a very self-empowering. Yes, it is. It's very self-empowering, but not to the point, or not even to. It's not self-empowering in a way that has to put other people down. It's self-empowering in a way that we're working within, and we're helping ourselves establish within ourselves um, more self-esteem. I'm sorry, there is nothing anyone in the world can tell me. Um, I don't care who you are, you're not going to ever convince me that a positive self-image is not a good thing. But as been said by uh, people far wiser than me, everything in moderation. And this is something that we all must take into consideration. I don't care what the faith is. It doesn't matter. Everything in moderation. Over religiosity is considered a problem, regardless of the religion. Um, when we do not seek, as a general whole, I can't speak for every individual, because every individual is different. But as a whole, I can pretty much say that we seek to empower the self, not by putting other people down, but by just that, empowering the self. Does magic work? Absolutely, it does. I would ask a Christian or a Muslim or whatever faith, does prayer work? And I would assume, and I've been told by many, many, many of them, that yes, it works. Do Wiccans pray? Yes, we do. We absolutely do. Um, we consider, at least I have to keep saying I, because I can't speak for the multitude of every single individual Wiccan out there, but I can tell you that I pray. but I don't have specific prayer times. I do what's been told, but been advised by many, many wiser than me, yet again, to continually stay in a prayerful manner, exist in a prayerful manner. My communication with the divine is always in my mind. It may not be the absolute forefront because I have to focus on tasks at hand, like making videos. Uh, but that communication with the divine is always there. Um, I never let go of the connection with the divine. But if you'll reverse and understand that I believe that the divine is within everything, there is absolutely no way that I could not be in contact with the divine because I am full of the divine. And so are you, regardless of what faith you're in, regardless of what situation you're in. It is true. Many faiths will tell you, not just Wicca, that God is everywhere. Well, everywhere, there again, means within you too. There is not a part of you that is not divine. There is not a part of the person sitting to your left or to your right, or anybody watching this video, or anybody you've ever met or ever will meet that is not a part of the divine. There is not a part of the cat that's sitting in your lap, the dog out in the yard, the dog that was scratching on my door just a moment ago, that is not a part of the divine. There is not a part of the house that you're sitting in that is not a part of the divine. Everything is a part of God. Does that mean that the material, she makes mention of, I believe it was Carol makes mention in the very end, near the end, why go to the created when you can go to the creator? They're no, they're the created is a part of the creator. Um, there is no way, according to even biblical logic, that can be any other way. Um, does the creator exist outside of the created as well? Yes. In my opinion, yes. Panentheism, as mentioned in there, says that God is a part of the creation as well as outside of it. Yes, but it's all one creator, all one thing. Um, Now, another thing that I would like to bring to the attention is one of them, and I believe it was Carol Matriciana. It might have been someone else. I believe it was near the end. She talks about one of the practitioners made mention of a voice coming from a female within a circle after drawing down. They didn't know where the voice was coming from, why the voice was there, but she passed out. And that's dangerous. Um, yes, it could be dangerous. And yes, that could be used uh, in isolation to say that there are dangers in our faith. But I would ask you, has anyone been in a Pentecostal church and seen talking in tongues, speaking in tongues, glossolalia? Have you seen people possessed by the Spirit, so to speak, shaking on, writhing on the floors, running down the aisles, jumping pews? I will ask, why is passing out in circle because of an assumption by deity any more dangerous than that? Now you can make your assumptions probably that, oh well, one is good and one is evil. Well, sorry, that doesn't cut it. Um, because there is, in our own way, in our own right, as humans, unless we fall back on mythology and beliefs, individual beliefs, there's no way for us to show that one may be good and one may be evil. Now, one last thing, I know I'm taking a lot longer with this video, and I apologize, and I appreciate you hanging in there with me. Um, One last thing I would like to mention is my concept of what magic is there good and is there good magic and is there evil magic? Um, no, and yes, at the same time. Um, Magic is magic. It is a tool. Just like I will use the analogy of a firearm, of a gun. Magic is a tool. It can be used for good or evil. It can be used constructively or destructively. Consider, for an instant, the police officer. Uh, Back up. Let's consider the mugger that grabs you in a dark alley and shoves a gun, into your face and says, "Give me all your money or I'll kill you." Well, that's a very evil use of that pistol. But at that moment, a police officer sees you and points the gun at the robber, the mugger, and says, "Freeze! Drop the gun. You're under arrest." Well, that's a very good use of that firearm, of that pistol. So, is the gun good or evil? No. Are the intentions of the person holding that gun different? Yes. The mugger is intent on taking something by force. The police officer is intent on stopping that and protecting your personal safety. So, lots said there, and I'm sure I didn't touch on a lot of it. But what I would like for you to do is to remember that when watching this video, that the expert Carol Matriciana is very biased. Um, in my opinion. And you're welcome. Like I said, I'll put her name up on the end of the document, on the end of the video, so that you can Google her yourself. Kathy Sharp, the ex-witch that talks about the dangers and everything of Wicca, is very biased as well. I will put her name up as well. Um, you're welcome to Google either one of them and verify credentials and biases or possible biases. To all those in the comments that said, "I smell Christian propaganda," guess what? I do too. Okay? And I don't understand why in the video they talk about Wiccans want to make themselves feel better by putting someone else down, when all the evidence shows that that's exactly what's going on in this video. So I thank you again. We've run quite long on this video, and again, I'd like to apologize for the lighting. Most of my videos have much better lighting. We're rearranging the baby's room and everything, or actually I'm losing my office and it's becoming a baby's room. So, in all things, may you blessed be. And remember, I don't want you to think like me. I just want you to think.